Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back. I'm Phaedra, and in today's video I'm going to walk you around our 7.5 acre property that we are slowly turning into our dream garden and show you what we're up to. And it's also the most beautiful time of year. It's autumn, my favourite, so it looks really pretty despite the fact that the property is in disarray at the moment because we're in the middle of some very big projects. If this is the first time you're seeing me here on YouTube, welcome. We've got an amazing community of subscribers and you can say hi down in the comments so we can all get to know who you are. If you've seen me a few times, maybe it's time to subscribe and join our amazing community if you haven't already. And of course, to those who have already subscribed, hello again. I love yous. Okay, so let's get into this. First up, our house. I love it. It's tiny, it's cute, and I've got this beautiful ornamental grape. It's going red with the autumn coolness hitting it. Very happy with it. We've just got this really cute space. So around the house, there's not actually too much garden. And the reason being, we are in Australia and there's snakes. So when we bought this property, there was a lot of like chook sheds and stuff right up against the house, a lot of garden. There was about 100 rose bushes in the backyard, and we pulled it all out, got machinery in, flattened the grass out and just put grass in, and we've just got a few trees. And I have added in a couple of little gardens, but ultimately around the house we try to keep it quite sparse because we don't want snakes finding places to hide right up near the door, because you don't want a snake to get into your house because it costs a lot of money to get them back out. We have had to have a snake catcher here before. We had 2 brown snakes, which are very venomous, under a sheet of tin. We were going to try and get them out ourselves, but in the end I was like, you know what, let's just call someone and pay them. Some of the decisions we make here on the farm are based on that. We do try to keep things neat and tidy and keep pathways wide and clear so that you can see where you're walking. It's just a part of life here in Australia. Especially living in the bush, we're just used to it. We're not so scared. We don't feel scared being out in nature. We're just aware of it. And you get used to hearing what they sound like when they're slithering on the ground and you know they're there. But you can see this is probably almost too much stuff on the patio, to be honest. Like they can hide in amongst here, but there is a big open area. So they will just kind of stay hidden because they're scared of us too. And we move around. We've got nothing up in front of the house there. Okay, and then as we start to move away from the house, we can start getting garden in. And I know I should have cleaned this up before this video. This is a really nice circular garden. The dream is to have these hydrangeas. They're dying off because the frost has hit. But the goal is to have like this beautiful little section of hydrangeas here because they'd make a really nice backdrop to our patio area, if you can imagine there. What is happening at the moment is, though, as of the last 12 months, we've had hardly any rain, and I just feel like we're moving into drought. And it does happen. Like, it's been about, I want to say about 15 years since the last really bad drought in this area. So in a way, we're kind of overdue for one. And I just feel like it didn't rain really last winter. It didn't rain all of like spring, summer, hasn't rained this autumn. And I'm suspecting it's not going to rain very much over winter. And if that's the case, we are in trouble. And hydrangeas are very thirsty plants. They require a lot of water and a lot of care in this area, especially at our place, and I love them. They're my favourite flower, and I had this big dream. I've got 50 of them that I've grown from cuttings, ready to plant up in the back area in a shade garden, but I think I'm going to have to scrap that idea, and this is why we're moving into the natives, which is, I'm going to talk about that book at the end, and we'll talk about that. But if they die, they die. I'm not going to replace them. And then we've just got elementary, and this is my hothouse. We put this in a couple of years ago. It is amazing. It's right near the house, so it's nice and easy to look after things. Right now it's absolutely full of junk, so we won't go in there. I've just got a little section here with some plants that I'm just caring for that needed to come out of the frost. Otherwise, everything else is in the garden. You saw me last week popping the cool season annuals in. We will go through and talk about what's what, but that's why I don't have much in the hothouse, because I got everything out last week. One of my favourite things is I built these planter boxes to go along the side of the hothouse. It just makes things look nice. It's the end of the season at the moment, so they're looking pretty bad. Today I am pulling all of those plants out. I've just got some petunias and cosmos, and they're sort of really dying back. And the ranunculus will go in here. And they put on a really beautiful show in early spring. So that's the hothouse. It was a really cheap build. I've got a video on it. They were frames. It's 3 frames from, it was actually Kogan. You can get it on Amazon as well. And I didn't put the little covers on. I just got rid of the little covers and got a big piece of greenhouse plastic. And I retrofitted it, like built the door and sort of did it myself. And I love it. So I think we're going into year 3 now with it, and it's holding up beautifully. Okay, coming down here, this was a project we did during summer. We got these palm trees, which caused a tiny bit of controversy in the comments, because a lot of people were saying that they're considered pests. And in Australia, the palm trees can be invasive. I just need to clean my camera. It's got dust on it from when I was using the tractor. Okay, yes, they can be invasive, but in our area they're not going to be. It gets too cold here. They just aren't going to take off. And we are just watching them. We get very heavy frost here. We'll get down to about -6 degrees Celsius through winter. Like, depending on the rain, if it rains, it won't happen too often. If we don't get rain, it will be multiple times over the winter that'll happen. So we are just keeping our fingers crossed. The roots have taken off. We've watered them in really well for the last, how many weeks would it be? I reckon it'd be 8 weeks they've been in. They've been really watered. Maybe might be a little bit longer. I think it'd be about 8 to 12 weeks they've been in the ground. So they have established. The new blades keep appearing, which makes us think they're doing really well. They're healthy. This one was the most dicey looking one, and then at the little one at the back here didn't have much of a root ball, but they do seem to be doing really well. You can see the top of this one. The new blade is like fluffing out now, so we think we're good to go. Hi Puss, this is Puska. She is our little cat that turned up on my birthday last year and she never left. Hello, come here. Not a lot else is happening in the house yard. This area is the old veggie patch, which just didn't do well there. We've got such an invasive grass here. It's kikuyu, and I just couldn't keep it out of the veggie beds. So I'm in the process. I've got this tractor from John Deere. I'm in the process of tilling this over, and I'll just smooth it out and then get that back to be lawn, probably clean up a few bumps and stuff and just get that back into just a gradual slope. Over the back here, this is the neighbour's property through that fence there, where it sort of turns brown. And I have tilled it on the weekend. So today's Tuesday. I tilled that, I think it was Saturday afternoon. I'm just letting it sit. It's been hit by frost for a couple of times. I'm letting it sit, and then I'll till it again, and we're planting out a flower meadow. So that is going to be beautiful. So that's kind of like a sort of a collaborative project with John Deere and my neighbour because it's his property. He's wanted a flower field there for so long, but we just didn't have the equipment to do it. We were going to do it all by hand with a rotary tiller, but it was just such a big project. So after I've tilled the second time, he's going to run the irrigation in because we haven't had rain. Normally we could put these seeds in and the wildflowers would grow, but we're pretty worried that it's not going to rain. So he's going to run an irrigation line and we're going to get that in. Fingers crossed that works out. The plants that I'm putting in, it's a mix. It's the little paper daisies, the Rhodanthe. I'll pop it up on the screen. I've forgotten the botanical name. Putting those, actually I haven't forgotten, I know it. I just can't say the second word. To be honest. So those little pink and white paper daisies, they're native to Australia. They grow quite well in this area, and I've got Puss following me around, meowing in the background. And then I've just mixed in with that Lux Bar and what was the other one? Oh, some bachelor's buttons. The bachelor's buttons and the Lux bar will come on a bit earlier in the season, so we're just hoping to extend the show for a bit longer. And then we hope it will just naturalise itself. I might oversow it again next season just to make sure that the flowers are going to reset. There will be a lot of seed though. So that's a project I'm really excited about. I hope it goes really well. And excuse the mess at the back of our house. This is one side of the house we haven't painted or fixed up yet. But that's our big window for our lounge room. And we can see straight out to that field. We are going to pull out these scraggly looking plants, and I would love to put a wooden post and rail fence and a nice arch in here eventually one day. Right now we've got too much going on, too many projects on the go. That's probably not going to happen for a while, but that is on the cards. And my neighbour way across has just put in a post and rail fence. It's a nice white one, and I looked at it, I was like, looks amazing. Yes, we're definitely doing it. They're painting it grey though. I wish they'd leave it white, but it's going grey. Monument grey, I think. So yeah, that's really it for the house yard. A couple little things we're just cleaning up. So this spot here was our old fire pit area. It's got some stumps though. I tried to dig it with the tractor the other day, and I've realised we tried to burn them out. So we will get a fire going back in there and burn those stumps out so that we can clean that up. And this is the junk area. Like every property needs somewhere to store junk. This is ours. And we are working on putting like a screen or a fence or something across here so that we don't have to look at it. And then irrigation lines are coming. There's an irrigation line that comes in here. I'm going to have to get on the tractor. I'll get on the tractor later today, dig the trench, because we're putting the pumps and all of the irrigation equipment just on the side of this shed here. There's a little overhang. It'll all go there, mounted on the wall with all the timers and everything. And that will then power the water for the whole property, which is another project that's massive. But that's Moroni's domain. I'm not well versed in irrigation plans or running it or fitting it together, and I'm actually not interested in it. So he's quite good at that. He does it really fast. That's his thing. I'm happy to dig the holes while he's at work, and when he gets home he just works on it. So that's how that's working. Okay, this is another really exciting project, another collaboration with John Deere. This is our old veggie. I've had so many veggie patch positions that haven't worked, but as you can see, there is concrete garden beds in here, like edged garden beds, and the grass. It worked really well for about 2 years before this kikuyu grass. I just couldn't keep on top of it and it just overran the garden beds. So what this is becoming is a chook pen. We're going to put a chook house up the back corner here, clean this all up, and we'll have our chickens. Finally, it's been years that we've wanted chickens, and so that's going to happen. And that's another project that we're working on with John Deere. So that's very exciting. And if you don't know, I entered a competition, what was it? Like, I think it was in January, early January, to win a John Deere tractor. So it's a 40, I think it's a 4044 tractor with a 4-in-1 bucket, and then a Z-Track mower. And I didn't know, but they gave me a polycart as well, and the polycart's been a game changer. Of all the things, you wouldn't imagine how much of a difference that trailer for a mower makes. Everything's made a difference, but that was really cool that they thought to give me that. That was really, really cool. So I actually won. So you can see the short somewhere on my channel. Go and have a look at our entry. And yeah, so I'm working with them for 6 months. They supply the equipment and we can get all these projects done, and I make them 6 videos during that time for them to put up on their social media. So they'll hold copyright to those videos. And I think that's a great deal, and it's working really well. They've been amazing to work for, like a really, really good company to work for. So very happy. It was a little bit daunting going into working with such a big company. I wasn't sure how that was going to be, but they're just so, I keep kind of describing it as homely. They feel like a homely company, which I hope that makes sense when I say that. Okay, anyway, moving on. So I'm about to show you the biggest project we've ever undertaken. And when I started it, I just kept thinking, for weeks, I thought to myself, what are we doing? Like, what have we done, saying that this was one of the projects? And it was one of the major projects because I'd mentioned it in the entry video, but we did not know what we were getting ourselves into. So as we walk out here, this looked very different about a couple of months ago. There was a fence line here with a whole heap of junk on it. There was trees that had died off and been burnt out but had re-sprouted that we had to get rid of. And just for reference, this is where all the growing space is, the cut flowers, veggie patch, all of that. So this is directly opposite in a paddock that for years we've wanted to do something with, and we thought we'd put a flower meadow in, but then we had this idea to put an oval in, a footy oval. And footy is football, and football in Australia is egg ball. So it's the ball shaped like an egg. That's what we call football or footy. So if I'm referring to this thing as a footy oval, that's what the sport is. So you have 4 goalposts on each side and people run around. And it's not like American football where they wear all the armour and padding. The only protective gear that the football players wear is a mouthguard. And it's rough. And my daughter plays it. So that's the context of why are we doing an oval. But besides that, we like grass, and we don't want to have grass everywhere and troublesome grass like we've got all around the house. The kikuyu does amazing here though, so we are actually going to be putting kikuyu on this oval, but we've just got to contain it. That's the challenge. So we just really like grass. We find it very like calming. It's a nice place. It's like the kids were out here last night playing on the oval and it's dust. And James had already had his shower, and I'm just like, you're going to have another one now. Like, they were just covered in dust because they can't wait to have this grass area to play on. And James likes to play soccer, which, is otherwise known as football. And Malia likes to play football, and Shani she just sort of does whatever. She'll probably just sit out here with friends and stuff. So I'll talk you through this. I will pop the drone footage up, but the oval shape, so you can see the irrigation is going in, but it's quite big. And when I first was planning it, it didn't seem so big, but then when I started digging the trenches out, I was like, wow, this is actually massive. And when I put the drone up, and because I marked it out with the pink marking paint, put the drone up so I could have a bird's eye view. I wanted to double check that the shape was good and everything like that was perfect, but it was very big. So it's a very, very big grass area, but we are so excited. Like, we can't wait. By spring, this will be kind of strong enough for us to sort of be on, and then the kikuyu can start to take off. Because what we're going to do, we've got a little bit of work to finish. I spent a good I don't even know, 2 weeks just trying to get it level because I didn't know what I was doing, but I did it. It still needs work, but we are just going to get this irrigation in, finish off the big land works, and then I'll come in, refine it. We'll get the seed in. So we've got rye going in, which isn't exactly what we want, but it is a quick crop to make this look green and to get something on the ground to stop the dust. And we're transplanting kikuyu from the other yard because we've got so much of it, and we'll just put plugs of it everywhere, and then it will take off over summer. So the rye is really just there for a season I think it was the annual rye that we're putting in. So it'll just be there for one season to just as a placeholder, and then the kikuyu will choke it out. So that's the plan. But when I put the drone up to check the size of it to make sure, we like the shape, we like the position, blah, 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 I realised over here needed to cut a lot more out of this corner. And I looked at it and I was like, I'm going to have to cut a lot of soil out of there and then sort of graduate that hill down. And then I thought, why don't we put rocks? So we ordered a load of rocks, and there they are up the back. It actually doesn't look like many now that we're looking at the pile of them, but we'll have to make it work because this project is costing us a bomb. But the other projects aren't as expensive. The driveway project, which I'll show you, is going to cost a bit as well. So probably the driveway and the oval are the ones that I'm just going to cover the mic so the breeze doesn't get it. The driveway and the oval are pretty expensive projects. The chicken project could be expensive, but I think I'm just going to build a chicken coop out of, I'll buy proper framing timbers and then use what I've got around the place to make that a bit cheaper, because we don't want to, in this economy, we don't want to be going stupid spending money. But we went stupid and we spent money on these rocks. I'm going to give you a close-up look at these rocks because they're beautiful. You know, I was laughing with my girls. They're both teenagers. And I'm like, you know, some ladies love little shiny, glistening rocks on rings, right? Not me. I like big boulder rocks. So yeah, what's the difference? Some women are buying jewelry. I'm buying landscaping rocks. And don't you think they're beautiful? Like, look at them. And there's nice little ones, because one of these projects is a fire pit area. I'll talk you through that. But there's some little ones that'll be really cool around the fire pit. And then there's some really nice big ones. Like, look at that big flat one. Moroni's claimed that one and that one for a project he wants to do. And then the rest I will use for that retaining wall, sort of from there to there. And then a few little ones for the fire pit. And I want to just put one rock in the garden in front of the studio, which I forgot to show you, but when we go and look at the driveway, I'll show you it then. So that's the oval project. Oh, and also around that edge, so the other side of the oval, like here, we are putting hedging plants in. We just haven't decided what they're going to be. We've got about a month to plan that. The main priority is to get the grass in. So we're just busting ourselves to get that ready to get grass. And then we're going to plant out sort of from there to there, screening plant, tall one. So as you can't see the house from the oval, so it's a little bit private. And then this side, just up from the retaining wall, we'll have a garden. And this is the intriguing part. We're calling this the Harry Potter garden. And I'm not going to tell you why yet. You'll need to subscribe and follow along as to why we're calling this the Harry Potter garden. But this is the Harry Potter garden, sort of somewhere up here. And then there'll be like a little bit of a space, like a walkway between the garden and that tree. And then here, there'll be a big fire pit area. And that fire pit area project, the goal for that one is, we just like to challenge ourselves. We're only allowed to use items that are already on our property. So we haven't spent extra money. The one little cheat on that is I've just bought these rocks. And I'm going to use some of those rocks in the fire pit area. And we otherwise wouldn't have had those. But I sort of think I had to buy 5 cubic meters to get them delivered. So I kind of had to buy extra anyway. And now they're on the property. So I feel like it still fits. But I won't be doing any more cheats like that. Like, I'm not going to buy anything else before that project starts, just so I can say, oh, it was already here. It's just those rocks. So full disclosure, some of those rocks, and I'll probably just use it to build the little circle around where the actual fire goes. So I kind of feel like I'm not cheating too much. Sides of the oval, over in the corners and over here, we're planning to plant birch trees and have like a birch garden. And our neighbours here, we hang out, like we kind of cut between each other's properties a bit, so there'll be a little path for them to get through there. The birch trees are a bit iffy because if we are coming into drought, birch really like a lot of water. The only saving grace we've got is this oval is, the water for this oval is coming from a spring dam. So, and we've got sprinklers in each corner. So there's one there and there's one there. And we've got the sprinklers that you just pop into the holes. So when you want to water, you go out and you shove them into the outlet and then turn the waters on and it goes. We can turn those sprinklers around, and if we have to, we can water the birch area. So we just really love birch trees. If we can get them established, they'll be fine. Although my neighbour did say that, I don't think it was the last drought, the one before that. I think it was that one. He was saying he did witness just mass death of birch trees because they need moisture. So we've got a fairly high water table. I'm hoping if we can get them established enough that their root systems can tap into that, we'll be okay. The 2 birch trees at the house, hopefully you can see them, you can't really. So there's the top, they're kind of losing their leaves. Those 2 right at the back of our house, they are very well established and they never get watered. They haven't been specifically watered, they really haven't even had rain for like over a year, so proper rain. And they're surviving, so they've obviously tapped into the water table, so fingers crossed. Okay, let me talk to you about this growing space now, because we've got plans And I've been getting questions about, am I growing winter veg? What's happening with the flower farm? All that stuff. To answer the question, what's happening with the flower farm, I actually don't know. I still don't know what I'm doing with that. I will do another video because I think I've recovered from the burnout now, or I'm very close to the end of recovery. So it's been a year since I suffered that really bad burnout, and it's been a journey, but I've been patient with myself. So if it's something you want to know about, I will do another video on that a year after burnout, like how I got through it and what I did. So that's why we haven't really grown much this season. And then I was going to put stuff in, and then I won this John Deere, what would you say, competition, and I got this equipment. So then I was like, I've had these plans for this growing space for a long time, but I just didn't have the ability to do it because it would have had to be done by hand. I got the burnout. I couldn't actually physically do too much, and I didn't have the time. So now that we've got the equipment, frost has hit, I'm going to pull out all the dahlias. I'll store them up for the winter. They're finished. They've been hit by frost a couple of times now, and you don't actually have to wait for them to die back. You can just cut them off and store them. That's fine. So plot 1, this plot that we're in now, we are going to rejig this whole thing so it resembles a backyard. And it's a veggie patch, and it'll have some edible flowers and stuff through it, but essentially you'll walk through a gate and it'll feel like if you wanted to turn your backyard into a edible garden, that is an inspiration for your backyard, just standard size backyard garden. So that's the plan for that. And one of the other projects is to fence this. It's got to be fenced, but I need to get in here with the tractor and rejig all of this plot 1 and plot 3 before we put the fencing up. So all of that time that I felt so frustrated that I didn't actually have the physical stamina because I felt so sick with the burnout to do the fencing, and we also didn't have the time. So now that we've got the tractor, I think John Deere are arranging, I don't know, I think it's an auger, I don't know how to say it, for the tractor to dig the post holes in. I need to check up on that, but either way, having this equipment is going to help me get this fencing done, regardless of how it gets done. So I can now rejig plot 1, and we'll talk about that in more detail when I actually get to it, which probably won't be until maybe end of June, I think. And then plot 3, and you can see that it's got this rise, which obviously is not ideal. I don't really want that there, but I didn't have a way to get rid of it, but now I do, so I can use a tractor. So the plan is I'm going to till it, break up the soil as much as I can, move dirt over, move till I can get rid of that lump, and it'll just fill up that space up the back there where it kind of dips down. So it'll just all end up flat, and then that was the cutout for the cocoon tunnels, and that's obsolete now. It's not happening. So plot 3 will get fenced along with everything else, but I'm actually splitting one of the cocoon tunnels in half, and I'm going to put 2 short cocoon tunnels in here and then the pumpkin patch up the back. That's the plan there. And then plot 2, that is still going to be the cut flowers. And this is what I was working on last video, getting these cut flowers in. I've still got row 1 and 2. Row 2 actually has larkspur in it. It just self-seeds, so I'll probably just leave that. Row 1 and row 3 are still yet to be planted out. Row 4 is veggies. I've got to get my garlic, and it's so late, but that's just going to be a veggie row because I need somewhere to put stuff while I work on plot 1 because I won't have many veggies for the winter. And then row 1, I had teed up with a girl in town who has a little microflower farm at her house, and they buy the plugs from Ball Australia. And I had sort of said to her, oh, when you do the next order, can I order some Lisianthus, and I'll split postage and everything. I need to chase her up on that. I'm hoping they haven't ordered without me because I really want to put Lisianthus in. And if you've been following me for a while, you'll know that each year I have tried to grow Lisianthus from seed, and I can germinate them and everything, but I end up getting so bored like looking after them because they're so slow. Like they stay tiny like this for months, and it ends up so tedious caring for these little plants that don't look like they're moving. Yeah, look, I'm sorry in advance for my lack of patience with that, but after 3 attempts, and then it gets to the point where they just don't do well, and then I've got like all that work and I've ended up with like 4 trays. And I just think, you know what, whatever it costs to get plugged, I'm going to do it. So that's my plan. If they've ordered without me, I'll probably just contact Ball and just order my own, and that'll be fine. So row 1's reserved for the Lisianthus. Let me take you through the rest. So plot 1, Lisianthus. Plot 2 is Larkspur. And then that kind of finishes off fairly early. I can cut that back, but I do like to just let it go to seed. So that row kind of just sits there once the summer starts. Row 3, I do have a couple of seeds I wanted to put in there, but I'm now not sure if I will, because it has the frost hit early. And of course, once the frost hits, it's very hard to get us to germinate. The daytime is still warm, the soil's still warm enough, but I don't know. I was going to put some more Canterbury bells in and stuff. We'll see. Row 3 may not get anything. Row 4 is the veggies, for this season at least. And I've got these arbors, which I put in. They were supposed to have the vines, but we had the most awful season and I just didn't have the energy to really care for it well enough. So nothing really eventuated, but I've since planted some roses. So one's called Kiss Me Kate, and I can't remember what this other one was. Purple and one was yellow. So a couple of climbing roses, and over the years they can just take off. And then up the other side I'll just grow seasonal stuff. Like I've actually got sweet peas in to hopefully take off for this season, upcoming season. Hi puss. And you know, like I can do snow peas and stuff, so that's fine. What are we up to? Row 5, where puss is. I've got some seeds in and some other plants. So at the front here we've got Canterbury bell seeds, and I do have some little plants I'll stick in there as well. And then I've got coriander because we love it. And then I've got feverfew. So I've got that feverfew that we now can't get in Australia, and I'm just trying to build up stock for it so I can sell seed and try and keep this variety going in Australia. And then here we've got some ornamental kale. I had a beautiful crop of ornamental kale for the last 2 seasons, and I sowed the seeds in January and planted out. I think it was by, I can't remember when I actually planted it. They were pretty small, probably by the end of Feb they were planted out, and then they grew so beautiful and I had them for Mother's Day. This year the heat was so intense and unrelenting and so hot. The January sowing, it germinated and then kind of failed. So I planted it again in February and it grew, but I couldn't get them in the ground because the weather never cooled off and it never rained. So they're very late in, they were leggy, but I actually don't think that'll matter because we want long stems on that kale anyway. So it may or may not go okay. We'll see what happens. But it's absolutely not going to be ready for Mother's Day because Mother's Day is in like 5 days. All right, we've got row 6 here. And in row 6, like I said, at the start here, we've got sweet peas. So hopefully they do okay. We've got stock in here. Same story as the kale, exact same story. But they've gone in, we're hoping for the best with that. And then we've got snapdragons. They're actually seed that I've put in, so we're going to see what happens there. And then I've got bells of Ireland, and bells of Ireland can be very tricky to germinate. Oh, and then I've just got the leftover zinnias. These are the floret unicorn, and I've basically just been growing them out to collect their heads. But what I should have done, and I just didn't, because like I said, I didn't keep on top of things this season because I didn't feel well enough. Every time a single came, I should have cut it off so that the bees wouldn't cross-pollinate with the full fluffy heads. So what I'm going to do next season, I was growing these out for seed, so I didn't have to buy it again because it's quite expensive to buy this in Australia. What I'm going to do is I will buy another packet of unicorn and also golden owl. I loved golden owl. It was just absolutely gorgeous. I liked it more than unicorn, but the unicorn colours were just absolutely stunning. There's just something about the golden owl one. So what I'm going to do is I will use all this saved seed and I'll just plant a couple of rows so that we've got something really pretty with the zinnias for next season. But I will buy another packet of unicorn, another packet of golden hour, plant them away from everything else so they can't cross-pollinate with each other grow them out and I will cut off their heads. I may even contain them in their own little net house and then hand pollinate to make sure I get really good seed and hopefully get a lot of like full fluffy heads. So we'll see if that eventuates or not. Row 7, it's a bit of a mix. I've got spring onions in here. And while yes, it's a vegetable, and I said all the vegetables were in row, what did I say? Row 1, 2, 3, 4. In row 4, spring onions are the prettiest colour, like the most beautiful green, and I love the way they looked up against the flowers. So if you're looking for something that looks like a really nice structural plant, like, you know, those green spikes, spring onions are a really beautiful thing to put in amongst the flowers. It also helps with pests. The variety that I have is, I'm going to have to put it on the screen, I'm so bad at pronouncing things. So anyway, it's on the screen. It is the most gorgeous green. So that's why I've put them there. Sorry, we're back in, this is still row 7. I've just come to the other end. I actually got some delphiniums. So the girl that I was telling you about with the little micro farm, and she had bought plugs and had leftovers and I bought them off her. So we've got the delphinium cherry and the delphinium sky, and they are doing amazing. And I only just got them in. I had to pot them up from the plug trays because plug trays are miniature. They would have just died over summer and dried out. I potted them up and I've got them in. I'll just do a close up for you because they're absolutely thriving in there. You can see them in there. I need to get in there and just move some leaves around so that they don't, I think when we've watered, it's kind of covered some up. We've got to fix that up. But other than that, they are looking so good. I'm really excited about that. So that goes to about halfway. I have busted my knee and it's really hard to get up. It happens every autumn. Anyway, and then I've got some seed in. I've got the Delphinium Super Angel and the PG Blue, like PG Blue Jay, which I have tried to grow. This is the 3rd season trying, and I've cared for them and looked after them, baby them. This time I'm like, you know what, stuff it. I'm just going to literally just chuck the seed in the ground and see what happens, and I bet you that they grow. That'll be just typical, won't it? But you know what? Whatever happens, if we get them, we get them. And then I've got some more snaps in here. I've got the Costa Yellow, the Opus Lavender and the Opus Pink. They were more seedlings that were not looking too good, and it actually looks like I've lost some, but we'll get what we get, and it's kind of mingled in amongst the spring onions. Row 8 is a little bit exciting because one of my subscribers, and she doesn't want to be named, so I'll protect her name, sent me a whole heap of Chrissy plugs. And they're from the same place that I've bought Chrissy plugs in the past, so I knew they were all good. I should have a look at how many there were, but I don't know, but it's a row of them. There was a lot. She sent me through a whole heap, and I really appreciate it. It was so exciting. So because it was so hot and I knew I was neglecting the garden, I wasn't out here watering, I potted them up into little, well, they're not tiny. They're like, there's like 10 things on a tray, right? So I put them in that. I just looked after them on the veranda. So they haven't thrived, but they're all in flower. Like I can see what I've got, and they're very pretty. There's even like a spider one, which I'm very excited about. I've popped them in. I need to go along and just cut all the flowers off to give, while we've still got some warm weather, just to give the roots an opportunity to take hold. And then next season, these will look beautiful. So this will be a whole row of Christies next season. And I'm very excited. And then just up on the end is the sea holly, which, warning, if you put that in, be prepared for you to never get rid of it. Which is good news for me because I don't plan on getting rid of it. But I am growing up some little seedlings. Like there are some tiny little seedlings here. I'll show you. Unfortunately, the wallabies have been eating them, but there is some tiny little ones. They just spread. And I am going to dig a heap out and pot them up, because another project we're working on is a big walking track around the whole property, and we're going to eventually have it planted out with a lot of natives. So you'll walk along, and in little spots there'll be different types of gardens, and in one area I'd like to put sea holly. I think maybe even sea holly and billy buttons together could look really cute. That was going to be a project with John Deere, but I was sort of like, I think it's actually going to look very boring for a video, like just me building a track. But in the future, like in about 3 years' time, to have that footage of me building the track And then to show you how it looks, we'll go for a walk around and we'll experience what this walk looks like. That's a very long range project. So I will get started on that track soon, but I am starting to think about the plants that I need to propagate. We've got some in the shade tunnel. I'll show you those as well. Some in the shade tunnel, and we are just kind of collecting stuff ready to plant out along that track. And the whole thing won't be planted out. Like, part of it goes past the oval. So some of it you'll walk through the birch forest and, you know, then there'll just be an open field. Eventually we'd like to put another flower meadow, like one up the back of our place behind sort of where the fire pit area was. And you'll walk through a flower meadow, like just little things like that. So we can go for a walk around our own property, which my girls already do. They kind of walk, but it's like full-blown off-road bushwalking at the moment. But it'll be nice. Like, we could go for a walk or a run on a track that we're not going to break our ankles on. So that's the goal. Just to complete the end of plot 2, where all the cut flowers are, this pile of rubble, we're going to move it, like get rid of all the concrete in it. And I'm setting up, I was going to do a Hobbit hill, which is something I talk about if you go to the John Deere Australia, New Zealand YouTube channel, there's a video, it's like about 3 minutes or 3.5 minutes of them introducing me as their new content creator and delivering the equipment. And in that video, I talked to Vaughan, who's the content creator for New Zealand, for John Deere, about this Hobbit hill, and he's from New Zealand, so it was kind of perfect. Anyway, it's a cool little section that the film crew happened to capture me and Vaughan talking about. So I wanted to have a Hobbit hill here at the back of plot 2. But I've since thought about it, and I think it might be better just to have a hill. And the reason we're having that is we had major flooding and our dam overflowed and it just washed through our entire flower field. So we're putting the hill behind plot 2 so that if the water rushes again, it has to move to the edges. And then another thing with the tractor, why we haven't put the fence in yet, is between the plots, we're going to just slightly scoop out like a little channel, and it won't be too obvious, but it'll be somewhere for the water to run if we get flooding. So, you know, it'll come back down off the dam, go around that little tiny hill and then flow down here. Something with this hill though, I was thinking, what if I were to make it like bigger, that goes back more, and put berry runs on it? But I feel like having a little run of wine grapes, like a mini vineyard, could be cool. We're crazy, I know. We're just obsessed with gardening. We get an idea and we're like, let's do it. So, I mean, this morning I was watching this video, I was like, all this land up the back here, I'm like, we should build a golf course. We don't even play golf, but we might, you never know. Okay, shade tunnel. So this is where the hydrangeas are. I think I'm going to pop them out, just let them get hit by frost, let them resprout in spring and sell them, because I feel like I don't want to deal with high maintenance, high water plants anymore. I've got a tray of lavender. I've got a tray of rosemary. I was either going to do topiaries or use it as a hedge. We've got these natives growing down here, and they're more creeping sort of plants, but we've got lots of them, and they will be for, well, Moroni he does gardening, like private gardening for people's homes locally. A lot of very big, very nice gardens he works in, and he was propagating stuff for some of those gardens, but I don't think they're going to use it now, so we get it, and it'll be perfect for our walking track. But I just want to show you this. So here in the growing space, this is between plot 1 and plot 2. We're putting a nice fence in here, and you remember how I said the oval is going to have a hedge around it? So the hedge will go around like that, around to the back there, but it'll stop about here, so that when you're walking down between plot 1 and plot 2, you get to look out over that expanse of grass and you'll have the birch forest in the background. So in a few years, this is going to look so good. It's just, gardening is a lesson in patience, isn't it? But that's the plan. And then so once all this gets set up, we can put the fencing in, keeping in mind the contract with John Deere ends at the end of August. So we've got 4 months, but I'm like, those 4 months are going to go so fast. And if we do get rain, our property turns into a bog pit. So I really kind of want to get as much done as possible before that happens. Anyway, I'll take you over to the driveway. We'll have a quick look at that. And then I'll show you the garden in front of the shed. But yeah, I feel like we've just got so many things. Like this shed is, I've been talking about this ever since I started the channel, turning this into the little flower shack, but my daughter's now claimed it as an art studio. And then the workshop for Moroni, this paving that my friend Ben did for me, Moroni hates it because he hates the fact that we used old bits of concrete. I'll come in here, now the fire ban period's finished, I'll come in here and burn it with the flame torch to get rid of all the weeds. But I mean, I want to fill the whole space out. I've got lots of concrete. I like it. I think it's so cute. And we did that kind of paving over here. I'll just quickly show you. There's the tractor. John Deere, I can't give it back. I'm going to chain myself to it so you just can't take it. Okay. Oh, here's the polycart. If you don't have one of these, you need to get it. Like if this is all you can get, like if you've only got enough money for this, go get it. Okay, look at it. Don't you think it's cute? I cleaned this up the other day and I think the cat comes here and she scratches everything up, or the birds. Anyway, the plan is we're going to concrete in between it, like put the mortar in, but of course, you know, having the time to do these things. So yeah, while we walk over to the driveway and have a look at the shed and everything, one of the reasons why plans changed on the farm and I haven't done some of the things that I said I was going to do is because of this opportunity with John Deere. We basically dropped everything else and we're like, right, we've got 6 months to do about 6 years worth of work that by hand we may not have actually ever done because it's just so hard. Like, and with my burnout, I now have to be very careful of how much I do physically, or I'll just drop back into burnout. Okay, this is the garden in front of the shed. And yes, it's all out of control and going crazy. But the plan for this is, I mean, we're going to put one of the rocks in. So one rock will go here. I think we're just going to have crissies and grasses and mostly native garden and water, pretty water savvy plants. These paniculata hydrangeas, this is the strawberry phrase one. They actually do really well. They have absolutely thrived, but I water this garden once or twice a day in summer, which we may not be able to do moving forward. We have a long driveway. So the plan is, one of the projects is to fix this driveway. Like it needs to be kind of repointed in some spots, and then we need to put a new base on it because in winter, if we get a lot of rain, it falls apart and it becomes so boggy that we've had winters where we've had to park up at the gate and walk because driving down the driveway was absolutely ripping it apart. And I was worried in some cases we were going to get bogged down our own driveway. So this is a big project. I really wanted to get it done sort of by now, but just in case it did start raining, because if it starts to rain, we're not going to get this done. But that oval project has just taken so long. Like just astronomically. I've really worked on that for hours and hours and hours. I mean, I'm getting to the point where I'm sick of the oval project, but I want to see it finished. Obviously, I've got to get it finished, but you know, that's where we're at with that. Okay, so this is our property. That's where we're up to with everything. That's what's going on. I'm just going to go get this book and we'll go through this book and I'll show you how gorgeous it is. Okay, fix my hair. Okay, this book, it's called Bush Flowers. I'm actually in winter planning to do I was going to do it last winter, but there's one book I'm waiting on and it's the book from Pepper Harrow and I cannot get it. I've had it on order in Australia for almost a year now. I don't know if they're ever going to reprint and I'm at the point where maybe I just email them and ask, are you ever going to reprint that? I just can't buy it direct from them, which I'd prefer because the shipping is like $50. Whereas if I buy it in Australia, I don't have to pay shipping. But are you ever going to, if you're watching, which you're probably not, but if you are you ever going to approve the reprint or whatever's going on? Because I really want it. So anyway, if I can't get it, I'll just do it with all the other books I've got. But Bush Flowers, it is so gorgeous. It just goes through so many of the Australian native flowers, like growing notes, what they're best paired with. It's more a floristry book. So it's not so much how to grow these plants, just the most beautiful book, like the flannel flower. It's more geared towards florists. Like these beautiful structural plants and the delicate ones, and there are some growing notes and stuff, but I just feel like it's so inspiring, and I hope that anyone who's interested in Australian native flowers, this might be a book for you. Thank you so much for sitting through the whole tour. I feel like we're at this very exciting stage on the property where things are actually happening, and that oval and getting the growing space fixed up and fenced and everything, it's just going to be such a big game changer. Even having the flower meadow, like there's going to be so much going on sort of come spring and summer. It's blowing my mind, and it's given me this it's been the best timing, because right when I signed the contract with John Deere, I was just starting to feel like maybe I'm coming out of the burnout. And I had felt gradually better. I felt pretty bad for about 3-4 months, and then just very gradually started to feel a bit better. But then I got this, and I did actually have a thought. I was like, am I actually going to be able to do this? And like, you know what, dumb question, I'm doing it. We make it happen. And I think that, because I feel like we've had lots of knocks on this farm, like lots of things have kind of held us back, even though we happily do it. Like we've actually just loved this journey. There have been times, and there's been a lot more times lately, where we've just been like, what next? And I feel like this was that massive boost that never expected. Like I'm not even a massive channel. I feel like I will be one day, but it's very, very slow growth. And just for this massive company to see something in me and maybe see future growth, I don't know. I don't really know what they were thinking, to be honest, but they liked my videos, I think is what it was. They liked the way that I created videos, so that was good. That was the boost we needed. And the fact that this equipment has taken a lot of stress off my body, because my body couldn't do the work for that almost a whole year. And I think if I was to go back and do so much work, it would have been really hard to cope. So that has been just the biggest blessing, like amazing, mind-blowing kind of wild card in life. It's so cool. Really thankful for it. So yeah, there's not a lot of garden going on at the moment. I mean, we've got garden, but it's sitting there because I feel like the structure of the property is what is happening right now, and it's really exciting. Like I'm going to finish this video, edit it, and then hop on the tractor for the afternoon. And try and get those little bits and pieces done. Maybe get those rocks placed on that section, because the irrigation's done where the rocks need to go. Yeah, so if you like what you're seeing and you think this could be a fun thing to follow along with, make sure you subscribe. That is like a free thing you can do that actually really does help my channel. It helps it helps in the way that, like, it actually really doesn't probably matter how many subscribers you have, but it sends a message to brands and it opens opportunities. That's what it does. And it allows me to bring better and bigger content to you, like more exciting things, and to achieve things a bit quicker. So it's not such a slow moving process on the farm. That's what becoming a subscriber does. And I love it when you leave comments. That's cool, especially when you tell me where you're from. I love that too. Okay, I'll see you next week. Bye.